The Iowa women's basketball team kicking off their season in an unofficial fashion under the lights at Carver Hawkeye Arena this evening. And a pretty good crowd for an exhibition game and a final score of 110-55 over Missouri Western. And we are here to recap the game and also kind of provide some takeaways. Not a whole lot as far as game breakdown to do on this next half hour to hour show, but certainly some early takeaways from a very young team and a team that is transitioning to the post-Bluter and post-Clark era. And things look pretty good tonight, but very early, and things will ramp up very quickly as this is their their last official exhibition game. Of course, they played a secret scrimmage, as did the men, and they'll kick off their regular season next week. So as you can see on the screen, 110-55 is your final score. We'll go ahead and run through some box score. We just got the official box score from Iowa. And how about this, folks? An attendance of 14,998. At least that was the official box score attendance. That is insane. If you think that is insane, I still am sitting here. This is an exhibition game. And I don't know how many people actually, if that's I don't know that we've ever come to the, found the conclusion on whether that's number of scanned tickets or number of tickets sold. I'm sure there were plenty of people that did not attend due to the weather. If you're not here in Iowa, a lot of thunderstorms moving through the area, a lot of rain today. Much of the state expected to get an inch or two of rain today. And so certainly would have affected things. But Iowa finding a way to still draw an impressive crowd inside Carver Hawkeye Arena. We saw the debut from Lucy Olsen, the Villanova transfer, as well as several freshmen. A couple of players held out due to injury. And so we'll get to all we have and some of my takeaways and some of your takeaways. If you're new to the show, there is a call-in number if you want to make your voice heard or ask a question. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. And just so everybody's aware, we are going to be publishing an official season preview with none other than Kasheen Alexander, who is a gift to this show, former All-Big Ten guard at Iowa. She will be joining me here in the coming days as we preview the season, and we'll have this kind of look back at as well. My show with Coach Gary Close, it was initially set to be published today. That will now be moved to tomorrow due to this exhibition postgame, and we published some press conference footage from earlier today, so figured we'd kind of space things out a bit on the channel. We had a football press conference on Zoom with Kelvin Bell earlier today, so you're welcome to check that out if you have not already. But we'll start with Lucy Olsen. She makes her debut today, plays 28 minutes, was 4 of 9 from the field. Just 1 of 5 from 3, but she was 5 of 5 from the free throw line and pretty balanced box score, 6 rebounds to go along with 6 assists and the 14 points. How about this for a plus-minus? Plus 57. Plus 57. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. Hannah Stolke was a plus 19 on the day at 18 points, 5 boards. Did get called for 4 fouls, but drew 5. She had 2 turnovers, was 7 of 10 from the free throw line. She's going to see plenty of trips to the stripe this year, 5 of 6 from the field, and did make a 3-pointer. How about that? Taylor McCabe, she drew the start tonight, had 2 threes on 5 attempts, made a couple of free throws, 7 rebounds for the Nebraska native, along with the 8 points, 4 assists, and a plus 34. Kylie Feuerbach played 23 minutes, was 5 of 7. She looked good. 7 boards for Kylie. Did get called for 4 fouls, but had 14 points, 1 assist, 2 turns, along with a couple of steals. She was plus 41. And who am I missing in the starting lineup? Addison O'Grady played 15 minutes. We'll get to her in a little bit. She had 8 points, 3 of 6 from the field, just 2 rebounds. Again, just 15 minutes. So played the least of the starters. In fact, Taylor Strimlow played a lot more than Taylor Strimlow, Tegan Mullaney. Both those players played more than Addison did. Taylor ended up playing 25 minutes, was 3 of 4 from the field. Very efficient, didn't force anything. 9 boards, 6 total points, 2 assists, did have 3 turnovers, a steal, and a block. Mullaney, I mentioned her, 20 minutes of play. I think she'll be the one that people talk about the most coming out of this game because she took 11 shots, 9 3-pointers, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, had 18 points. So she actually led all scorers, tied Hannah Stolke for the game high here. 3 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, was plus 25. And Callie Levine, the other freshman from Solon, played 10 minutes. I shouldn't say the other freshman, but another freshman from Iowa. 10 minutes of play, 2 of 3 from the field, 5 points. Pretty clean in the box score. I mean, didn't do a ton as far as stat stuffing. No rebounds, no assists, but also no turnovers for Callie. Did have a block shot. And will be interesting to see if she redshirts this year. That's kind of my big question marks going into the year. And I don't think we really learned anything from today's rotation. Also saw Ediger get 8 minutes of time, 2 of 2 from the field, 5 points, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal. Jada Gemfe, she struggled from the field, played 13 minutes, did end up with 4 points. And Ava Hayden, the big from Oregon, just under 13 minutes of play. I'm almost surprised she didn't get more than the 13. It surprises me. In watching the game, it felt like she had more. She was 4 of 8. I thought she provided him good energy. She runs the floor well. 10 points. She did finish in double figures. 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Had 4 boards. And drew a foul. Had, a plus 21 on the night. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Iowa shot for the game. The Hawkeyes shot 53% from the field. 35% from 3, made 12 of them. Very good from the free throw line. I think it's going to be a big key. 84%. I don't know that you can keep up that pace, but very good there. And let's find rebounding. Let's see here. Total rebounds for the day, Iowa. This is an uncanny number. 55-24. We don't learn anything from that. I mean, this is a Missouri Western team that clearly, what are they, Division II, I think? I guess I should know that. But clearly overmatched size-wise, physicality-wise. That's what you'd expect in an exhibition game. This is an exhibition game. But we heard heading into the year that Iowa was going to be more focused on defense and rebounding. So, so far so good. They only gave up, 55 on the night as far as points, and they were plus 31 on the glass. So all of those things are positive, but very early and way too early to draw any grandiose conclusions. We got about, 175 people here on the stream. And if you could do me a quick favor, folks, and this will help us not just tonight, but moving forward with all of our shows, especially the post-game shows, which are the lifeblood of this platform, be sure to hit the thumbs up. It just takes 2 seconds, whether you're on your mobile device, on a television. Might be a little difficult on a television, but you can probably figure it out. Otherwise, just go over to your phone real quick or your tablet, hit that thumbs up, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, you might as well do that as well, because we're going to be here all season from October until at least March. We hope that more than that, but we're going to be here throughout men's basketball season and women's basketball season. We're not just a football platform. All right, let's go to our phone line. We've got a number of people who want to chat, which is awesome. Again, the number to call in is 515-635-1601. That's 515-635-1601. We'll head to our first caller of the day. We got Tyler with us. Tyler, it's been a while. Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, how you been?
Doing good. I'm glad basketball's back. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, so you did some fishing the other day, too, and looks like you got a nice one. I have a few questions for you, and it's mainly just to kind of pick your brain as to what you saw tonight. the overarching question, it's the one that you just said we can't answer tonight exactly, is as a team, where are we right now? I see a lot of potential in this team. I also have a lot of questions, and we can't get a good sample size on any of this until we get a better sample size of Division I opponents. Nevertheless, and I feel like asking this, what does this exhibition tell us as far as getting to the answer to that question as to where we are in the pecking order of the Big Ten or the college basketball world in general, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's just a tough question to answer after a game like this against this opponent. I will say this, that I thought early Lucy looked the part as far as, I know people don't want us to compare her to Caitlin, and I'm not trying to do that, but she's going to have to, there's going to be similarities. She's going to have the ball in her hands a lot. She's going to have to score 18 to 20 points a game. I made the comment during the game, Tyler, to a buddy that was watching the game with me. I said, if Hannah Stolke and Lucy Olsen can each average 18 to 20 points apiece, I think they're going to be fine. I don't know as far as a finish, and you add the 4 teams out west, it makes things harder to predict, I think, collectively. But yeah, I mean, she's going to have to pick up the pace scoring wise, and I thought she did that early. As the game went on, there was a bit of a deferring to the younger players, which is fine. I mean, I didn't need to see 40 points from Lucy tonight, but her mid-range game she looks confident in her ability to drive, pull up in the mid-range. She finished through contact a couple of times. She's good at the free throw line, so those things aren't a surprise. Now, she was not, I guess the one thing is she was 1 of 5 from 3. That's one thing she mentioned to us at Media Day. She made the comment that, hey, that is one area of the game that I need to improve upon is my 3-point shot. So not only is she not going to be shooting shots from the logo, she's got to be more efficient from 3. She wasn't bad at Villanova if you look at her numbers, but if she can become a 36 to 7% shooter from 3, I'd have to pull up her numbers from Villanova. And like I say, they score between her and Stolke 18 to 20 apiece. I think they're going to be fine. My biggest takeaway from Media Days, I guess I think I learned more at Big Ten Media Days and then being in person at Iowa Media Days than I saw tonight, was the emphasis that Jan is placing on defense. Now, what that looks like materially, practically, what does that look like? I don't know. But they dominated the glass tonight against an inferior opponent. They were good defensively against an inferior opponent. So they passed the test, right? It's like being asked what's 2 plus 2. If you get that wrong, then we got problems. You got it right. It doesn't mean you're a genius, but at least means you're not dumb.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm operating at a disadvantage because I don't get Big Ten Plus. I had to listen on the radio. So I'm just trying to kind of going blindly into this.
Well, Tyler, before you guys get to your next question, and I'm happy to answer your next question. Let me just kind of run through a couple of notes that I had.
Sure,
Since you didn't have the Big Ten Plus, I'm sure there's people here watching that didn't have the broadcast for tonight. So one of the things I tweeted out during the game, you probably saw it, is Megan Mullaney is fearless. And, I mean, you can see that if you just look at a box score, you're going to get some indications of that. To see a freshman come out, I know it's an exhibition game, but to see her take 9 threes, they made a point of the broadcast bringing out how she broke the school record up at McFarland in Wisconsin for most made threes in a game. She recently compared herself, or she says people have kind of compared her to McKenna Warnock.
Okay.
At first glimpse, and McKenna was a good 3-point shooter. Mullaney's got the potential to be a better 3-point shooter than McKenna Warnock, someone who can make shots that maybe aren't wide open. Not that McKenna couldn't, but here's the thing about Mullaney too, Tyler. She's got good size. So she's not maybe like a Taylor McCabe or even a Kyler Feuerbach, who probably, although they're good 3-point shooters, McCabe's you could call an elite 3-point shooter. They need a little space. Gabby Marshall needed space. Tegan can create her own shot in part because of solid ball handling and the ability to shoot over smaller defenders. So I'll be interested to see how she acclimates once we get to real competition. But she is fearless. That was one thing I had written down. Ava Hayden, as you want to learn about other freshmen, really smooth mover on the court. That's why I was almost surprised when I looked at the box score and saw she only played 13 minutes. I think I will be surprised if we hit Big Ten play and she's not the starter. And I know, again, looking tonight, O'Grady played more. But stats-wise, they were both very similar. I mean, I didn't really see any difference in stats. They both played about the same number of minutes. But Ava Hayden is a better runner, I think. And she seems to be good finishing around the basket. It is very hard, I think, to evaluate a big in a game like this because you are playing against competition that's so much disadvantaged size-wise inside. Sure. So those would be two things. And what did I tweet out earlier? There was something else I tweeted out about that I'm drawing a blank on. How about this for one? You didn't miss anything as far as the broadcast. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to rip on Big Ten Plus, and I'm not trying to rip on the University of Iowa. Here's what I'll say. Let's get this out of the way early because I wanted to make sure I made a point of saying this because part of this show is me speaking my mind, Tyler, and you know that.
Absolutely.
But I think it's disappointing. I tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago. You've got 9 Big Ten Plus games this year. So in other words, 9 Iowa women's basketball games on Big Ten Plus. 6 of those games are in conference. 6 of them are in conference. Let me repeat that because that may seem like, well, what's the big deal, Cory? Well, the big deal is Iowa women's basketball has perhaps garnished more attention recently. Well, they've garnished more attention than any other women's basketball program in the country. And I understand Caitlin Clark is gone, but man, they had sold 15,000 tickets for an exhibition game tonight. I just think it's unfortunate because I think the university could really benefit, and frankly, the conference could really benefit from making sure these games are all available to everyone. Now, Peacock, that's just part of the contract, so you're going to get Peacock games too, but it would be better for these games to either be on Peacock or find a way to get them on BTN. I know there's other athletic events because, and there's a two-part to this, not only availability, but I feel almost bad because I know how the way Big Ten Plus works for people that don't know.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with somebody the other day about this. The way Big Ten Plus works is they have journalism students basically running the show.
Okay.
And I get it from a perspective of education, from a perspective possibly of credits, and from a perspective of trying to save money because there's a lot of events that get televised on Big Ten Plus, not just basketball. But for women's hoops and even men's hoops, but I'll focus on a women's game because it's grown so much recently. I just think it would benefit them so much to get somebody in there that could professionally call these games. Again, nothing against the kids. Like, I'm not ripping on the guys. I'm just saying these are students that are learning
on the job training.
Exactly. Yeah. I know it sound like I'm being critical. I'm just being honest. I heard the word Naismith pronounced Naismith tonight on a comment that was made. I mean, we're talking about basketball and you don't know how to pronounce Naismith. I mean, when you're calling Taylor Strimlow Taylor Strimlau and you're calling Callie Levine Callie Levin, I'm like, okay, either these kids aren't getting trained well enough or they're just not ready for the moment. I think it's unfortunate given the attention around the sport. But man, I guess I'm running out of things to talk about after an exhibition game if I'm ripping on Big Ten Plus. Those are just my thoughts. I just think it's unfortunate that we don't have a better situation for the many fans that are locked into this team right now.
It's just an observation. It seems to me like the inverse of the Caitlin Clark effect. So I think maybe in doing scheduling and that sort of thing and the way they were ranked nationally, I think they deserve a top 25 berth. And I think a lot of us are a place in the top 25 preseason, but they're not getting it because they assume that everything's outsiders and those that don't pay as much attention to the program think that since Caitlin's gone, well, the good old days are gone and maybe they're not as worth paying attention to, which I think is incorrect, by the way. You mentioned that kind of leads into my second question, your observations on Maligny. Who are the biggest winners, quote unquote, that you had tonight? A lot of us were definitely impressed with Maligny. We were also. It sounds to me like you were as impressed with I was from what I heard and what you saw of Ava Hayden. Is that the case? And if so, if you were impressed with those two, as far as winners tonight, who else would you put on that list?
I would say offensively, Kylie, because she was efficient and they needed her to be efficient. The amount, the volume of scoring that you lost, not just with Caitlin, but with Kate and with Gabby. I think Kylie's ability to take some of that offensive pressure. She's a veteran now. And so she's got to play like it. We didn't see Sydney Falter. We didn't see Aaliyah Guyton, who I do think is going to play as a freshman, assuming she can be healthy, stay healthy. So So, yeah, I think what you just said is accurate. Certainly Ava Hayden, even though she didn't play as many minutes as I would have expected. And, yeah, Tegan just fearless. And I thought Strimlo played – I know she turned the ball over a couple times, but they clearly like her. And if you look at minutes, I believe she led all freshmen. Yeah, she led all freshmen in minutes. So the stats aren't going to blow off the screen, but they really like her. And I know at Media Day, Tegan was brought up, Tegan Mullaney, Strimlo was brought up, and Hayden was brought up. So those are the three safest bets. What's interesting to me, and I don't know if you caught this, Tyler, but last week the men played, and I made the comment post game that it was interesting to me that Fran played, or I should say, rotated guys like he would a regular game. I did not feel like Jan did that tonight, and I say that because she played everybody, and she didn't play like players at the end like Fran did. Now Iowa was playing maybe a bit better opponent in Minnesota Duluth, but frankly, who cares because it doesn't count. Coach it the way you're going to coach any exhibition. So I felt like Jan and Fran took different approaches to this. And my point coming around to with this is I didn't learn anything about the rotation. And that's, to me, like we didn't see – the other player we didn't see is Kenise Johnson-Etienne. But you're going to see Sydney Falter, and I think you're going to see Guyton. But you can't play 14, 15 people. So they're going to have to trim that down to, I would think, at least 10 or 11. So
this sounds like Jan is trying to see what she's got to work with in a game situation.
Yeah, so maybe it's a situation where Fran's just real confident in his rotation and Jan is not, or maybe they're just coaches that take different approaches to a game that doesn't count, right? Callie Levine can play and burn and not worry about burning a red shirt, as can anybody else on the team. I think one of my other takeaways is I don't think AJ Ediger is any closer to significant playing time than she was last year at this time. It appears to me that O'Grady and Hayden are a full head above her. And then, without seeing Kenise Johnson-Etienne, I have no idea. I don't know what her situation is. She's someone that I made a point of asking Jan about at Media Day. And Jan, I don't know that she did this deliberately, but she kind of skirted around that part of the question. I asked her about ball handling and guard play and was Kenise someone that could maybe step up? And she kind of skirted around it and drew attention to people like Taylor Strimlo, Lucy Olsen, etc. So yeah, I don't know. Rotation wise, it'll be curious to see maybe Callie Levine red shirts, maybe Guyton red shirts. I thought she'd have a chance to play a lot as a freshman. And after that, I mean, I think everybody else has got a chance at playing. So it'll just be interesting to see how that's trimmed down as we go throughout the season.
You mentioned a couple of things that in all the conversations that you and Kashin and all of us had last year. There were two things that stuck out in my mind as far as concerns went. One among many was Feuerbach's inconsistent play. And you kind of mentioned her earlier. So the first part of this question is, I know it was a sample size from an exhibition game, but did she do anything to kind of alleviate that? The second thing that of concern was Taylor McCabe. It's obvious that she can shoot, but I think the concern is that she didn't last year anyway have any defensive prowess about her. And so because she was a liability, Bluter kept her on the bench. From what you saw tonight, again, I know the sample size is about that big. Did she look a little bit more developed to the point where she could be okay this year? And I know we got to see other games for this, but was there signs of life there as far as McCabe's defense?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
I just don't think I can't say that with a straight face.
Okay.
Now here's what I will say. Kylie, I feel the same way about Kylie. I think I'm pretty sure Kashin made comments last year about Kylie's defense as well. Yeah. And there were a couple moments even tonight against this opponent, Tyler, where I'm like, that's not very good defense from Kylie Feuerbach. Now, Kylie offensively, I mentioned efficiency. That's what it comes down to. I mean, she's going to be a real asset if she can defend decently well, but be really efficient on the offensive end. But I really can't draw many conclusions about level of improvement, especially on the defensive end against this opponent. I just think it's too premature to do that.
Last question, then I'll get out of your way. Did anything surprise you tonight? And I know expectations are kind of non-existent for a exhibition game, but did anything jump out at you positively or negatively as far as team play, how people were handling themselves, that sort of thing?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, somebody made a comment. My buddy that was actually watching the game, it kind of brought it to my attention. Lucy did have 4 turnovers, and she was called for 4 fouls. So I guess that's your little factoid of the night. Not that it means anything moving forward.
Right.
4 turnovers, 4 fouls. Maybe not the best. She'd probably say she's got to do better there. But it was mentioned during the broadcast. One thing that I thought the BTN Plus guys did well is highlight the fact that she only averaged 2 or 3 assists a game at Villanova last year, and she did end up tonight with 6.
Yeah,
could have a better ratio than 6 to 4. I guess is my point. So that'd be the only thing. You got things to clean up everywhere. But hey, as much as she's a seasoned college basketball player, she's brand new to the black and gold. And you have to think, I know she was just, in talking with her here a couple of weeks ago, she was just in awe that Carver was going to be full, because she's not used to that back home. I mean, even Nova is not a very big arena. They rarely sold out. So it's a big moment for everybody, not just the freshmen.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and we will see you as the season goes on. Have a great rest of the show.
Appreciate it. Good stuff. Good questions, and hopefully I answered those as best as I could. Again, if you want to call in, the number is 515-635-1601, or there's a way to call via StreamYard, and I will throw the link up in the description, or in the live chat. It is already in the description. I'll throw the link up here in the live chat. If you are new, it is StreamYard. You just have to sign in via Facebook, Google. All your information is private, but you can chat with us either on video or off video. Bill says, glad to hear Sid will be back to practicing this week. Hopefully she can get back to full speed quickly. And that was the big thing 2 weeks ago for media days. You've had Sydney Falter and Hannah Stolke both dinged up at different times. That's the pecking order, right? It's Lucy Olsen, Stolke, and Falter. Lucy, I think, is clearly from an offensive workload perspective is going to be number 1 there. And then how do the chips fall with the other 2 positions? Probably Stolke will take a heavier load offensively as far as scoring because of her position. But Sydney Falter, it'd be good to see her in the mix. They scored 110 points tonight without those 2 players. So that's a positive thing, right? Without a Falter and without Guyton, who we all thought had a chance to play decent minutes this year at point. And looking away at see what happened to that position at the 1. I mean, Lucy's just going to have the ball in her hands a lot. I don't really know what else to say about that. Taylor's going to play a lot. And I don't know if Aaliyah Guyton is so far behind because of her. Remember, she had off-season surgery last year due to a knee injury. So who knows what's going to happen there. But all good stuff and nothing negative to report from those freshmen this evening, other than I think you could argue that not freshmen, but first-year players. Maybe Lucy Olsen turned the ball over a little bit too much and got called for a few too many fouls. So let's go back to our call-in line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Chris in Wyoming.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I missed you. So I came in late. Were you at the game?
I was not. Nope. I watched it on BTN Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, you watched it. I couldn't get it. So I guess I wonder how everybody looked. You know what I mean? I had to listen. I had to listen to it.
That's what everybody's.
To me, it seemed. Yeah. So Lucy had 4 fouls. So did Hannah Stolke. Seemed like 3 of our players had 4 fouls. It seemed like the second half of the game, the refs were calling a lot of fouls.
Well, I'll say this. I made the comment about Kylie during the game that she got to move her feet better. She's got to move her feet better. She's a better athlete than she sometimes shows on the defensive end. And she's going to draw some assignments, especially if she's a starter at the 2 or the 3. She's going to be guarding some players that can drive and can put her in difficult positions. She's not going to be spelling, Clark, or she's going to be playing heavier minutes this year. She's going to have to defend better. It's not just McCabe. Both of those players are going to have to defend better. So I think it's good timing as it relates to their maturation, along with Jan taking over the program and at least preseason making some comments that would give us indicators that they are going to be placing a different level of emphasis on that end and on rebounding.
Yeah.
Another thing they mentioned, that somebody mentioned it at Media Day, one of the players, I remember specifically made the comment, I think it was Taylor, that, man, we've been focusing so much on rebounding more than ever before. So that's positive. I said to Tyler here a minute ago, Chris, I don't know how much you take away from today other than a few little tidbits from some freshmen and, things to clean up and how locked in this fan base is. The fact that you have 15,000, you sell 15,000 tickets for an exhibition game against Missouri Western. I think those are the biggest takeaways for me. We're going to learn a lot more about this team here in about a week because their schedule ramps up quickly. They get one tune-up, and then it's off to Charlotte to take on a Virginia Tech team that's been in the Final Four recently and is loaded.
Wow. So the first game is on the 6th, correct? Am I correct about that?
The first game is on November 6th. Yep, Wednesday against Northern Illinois. That's another Big Ten Plus game.
Okay, cool. So I guess for me it was like I was happy that everybody got to play, and I'm wondering like how did Taylor's shot look? How did her 3-point shot look?
It was okay. She was 2 of 5. She didn't force any shots. I mean, she shot
about
half as many as Tegan Mullaney, the freshman, did. So, I don't know if that means that Taylor's being a little bit more calculated or if, we didn't really need to see Taylor launch a bunch of threes to know she could shoot. So, yeah, she's going to get opportunities, but teams are also going to be keying in on her more. I mean, that's the case with everybody on the floor, with everybody Iowa lost. All these younger players, all these players who are coming off the bench last year, they're going to have to learn what it's like to be playing fresh defenders and be the marked ladies night in and night out.
This was a huge debut for this team, don't you think? I mean,
yeah,
it's a totally different team. So I'm excited about what they're going to do, moving forward, and to see the new players. I heard a lot of new names, so it's exciting, and that the fans, have their backs, and let's see what these ladies have got.
Now, Chris,
so they got some jitters out.
You are aware that you are aware that you can get these Big Ten Plus games, but it's a subscription thing. You got to spend basically like $12 a month, and you can cancel it.
Now I know, but I'm cheap, and
well, you're not the only one. I went on a tangent here earlier. If you missed it, Chris, I went on a tangent about Big Ten Plus, and it's not even for the same reason as a lot of people, the money. I just think there ought to be a better product for the Iowa women's basketball fans, and I think 9 games on BTN Plus is just too many. So that's my opinion.
I guess I'll have to look into it.
Well, you can cancel it. You spend. Think about it. If you spend 12, I'm not trying to promote Big Ten Plus, believe me, but if you spend, even if you pay for it for 5 months, that's what, $60 for a whole season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
There's enough other expenses.
Well, I'm retired, so I'm one of those on a fixed income, so everything's really calculated.
Yep.
But I'll look into it because that gets me through the winter watching the Hawks.
Well, I can promise you this, Chris. This show will stay free. Any of the programming with Kasheen and with Gary Close and with Don Patterson, it's all going to stay free. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yay. Well, I contribute. But when does Kasheen come back?
She'll be here basically. I mean, I don't have an official schedule from Kasheen. She's obviously not going to be able to make it every single game.
Right.
But she's going to be here. I haven't talked to her since I talked to her 2 weeks ago when we recorded a segment. We're going to be recording a preseason show here in the next couple of days, and we'll get a plan in place. But she'll be here for the regular season. So I'm guessing, assuming she doesn't have a volley, she's very involved with volleyball. So she's got some pretty serious volleyball leagues that she's a part of. But I know she's going to be at that. I'm pretty sure she's going to be at the Virginia Tech game because that's in Charlotte. She lives in Charlotte now. So
She lives in Charlotte. Okay.
So she'll be there for that. So
all right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I look forward to, following you guys again. I'm, I'm looking forward to this season and see how they do. So just wanted to check in and give my 2 cents worth and see what you thought.
Well, Chris, what's the weather like out in the big state of is it not the Big Sky State? That's Montana, but the state of Wyoming. That Wyoming's the state that I think of when I think of a big sky. So what's the weather like out west?
Well, it is a big sky. Well, where I'm at, I'm in east central Wyoming, and I'm up on a ridge like 1,000 feet higher than everything else, and so our weather is unpredictable. We were supposed to get, when they say 1 to 3 inches, that could be anywhere from 0 to a foot. So we had our first system come through yesterday and today, and we got no snow. They were saying 1 to 3 inches. Casper, which is 100 miles away, got about 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches. So we had our first snowstorm, and then we'll see what happens. We just never know out here.
Yeah. Well,
so
stay safe.
But it is a big sky out here too. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, stay safe, Chris, and we'll look forward to having a season where we chat post game.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Cory.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Appreciate Chris calling in. Again, Iowa, the women defeating Missouri Western 110-55 in the only unofficial game, I guess. The only unofficial game, if that existed, right? It's not a secret scrimmage, but it is sort of like a glorified scrimmage. So, and the Hawkeyes dispatching the Gaffords? Something like that. James, are they the Gaffords? Is that the right word? James? Oh, James is not with us. Let's try the other James. I see 2 James accounts.
I got kicked out on accident on the one. I don't know what happened. My phone started tweaking.
Why is it still showing up on my end?
I don't know.
All right, I just got rid of it. I
don't know what happened, but they're the Griffins, I think.
Griffin? What is a Griffin?
I don't know, but one of the kids I coach, his sister played softball there, so.
Okay. All right.
At Missouri Western. So, but no, it's good to see. The one thing I think I'm most interested in is something that a lot of people didn't talk about is how does the rotation affect, like, because we're gonna see rotation, right? Obviously, out of the gate with when playing those guys, but then you get Sydney back. So how does getting Sydney back affect their rotation? How does it affect everything that we're gonna see the first 4 or 5, however many games she misses, right? If she misses however many games she misses, how does that affect your rotation after that? Because obviously she's a starter. Obviously she's gonna get a lot of minutes, right? So you don't know where those minutes are, how to come away from somebody, but maybe the first couple games will give you an impact of maybe this person doesn't deserve as many minutes as you were giving them the first couple games or whatever, the first 4 or 5 games. So you take away a couple there. This is going to be interesting to see who plays a lot in the first 40 games and then how the minutes get divvied out once Sid comes back.
Yeah, and let me piggyback off that. I'm guessing, and we don't have anybody on location, so to speak, that's going to be reporting back for Jan Jensen's press conference, but I'm curious to know what the timeline right now is for Aaliyah Guyton, because the expectation here a few weeks ago was that she was on track to be back in November. But if she's back and they plan on playing her, and I don't know that that's the case, given the fact that this injury is going right up to the final hour, I'm curious to see what happens, because if they play her, they can't play everybody. I mean, they just can't, like you said, James. I mean, Sydney is already going to affect the rotation. And I just don't think we learned much of anything tonight as it relates to the rotation, because everybody played, and you're just not going to be able to do that moving forward. They're going to play more players than the men. I don't doubt that whatsoever, but they can't play 15.
No, but it's also a good thing, obviously, maybe you get your feet wet. Again, like you said, they don't get many tune-up games, so you kind of treat this game as a tune-up game, and the fact of you get Northern Illinois at the gates, and then you got to play Virginia Tech, like you said. So you kind of treat this game kind of as a tune-up game, if that makes sense. Like, as a coach, that's how I look at it. Like, this is kind of a tune-up game for us because we don't really get many tune-up games before we got to get into Virginia Tech, if that makes sense. But it's a tune-up game where you can look at everybody because it doesn't really affect you in that way of thinking, if that makes sense.
And David in the chat, appreciate this. He says maybe 8,000 in attendance. So if that's the case, I didn't think it looked full, but I'm just telling you, the official box score from the NCAA says 15,000. So I'm assuming that means how many tickets they sold, which is amazing in and of itself. Again, bad weather tonight, not winter weather, but bad stormy weather.
Yeah, it's bad over right here. Kind of here right now. It's thundering on and off, so you never know how it is. And some people don't like to travel and that, but it was just good to see basketball back. Obviously, of any sort for me, obviously, to get in. I love more than obviously. I'm a big football guy, but I love basketball more just with my coaching and all that other stuff, right? So it's a game that I love truly like that. So it's good to see it all the way back, but it's good to see kind of how it's gonna be the same, right? A little bit of the same stuff with Jen compared to Buddha, right? But you also know there's gonna be some different, a little bit of differences too. It's not all the same, so it's kind of interesting to see that aspect of things too, where it's like you see some similarities, but you see some differences. It's kind of intriguing to see. And then that point too of things. And Tegan shooting a lot of threes is something that we haven't seen from a lot of our bigs at Iowa in the past. Like more stretch bigs kind of in the past. We really haven't had that. More of our guards are more of the shooters, at least for the women's team, if that makes sense. More of the guards are more of the shooters, right? So it's kind of interesting to see that point of things too, and how much she does.
Yeah, that's maybe the unheralded part of what was missing last year, because McKenna Warnock was sort of the exception to that.
Yeah.
He could shoot threes well and in transition, and it appears that Tegan's comfortable. I mean, I saw the question earlier here from RC here in the chat. Who impressed you the most, not named Lucy Olsen? It'd probably have to be Tegan Mullaney. I like to see a young player fearless, especially in an exhibition. Let it fly.
Especially in that one. That's when you get your confidence back to where you kind of find out what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with in that aspect of the game. Obviously, they get tougher as it goes on, but that's how you definitely get comfortable or not comfortable in that realm of things.
Yeah. No,
I've seen somebody ask the questions. I don't know if you answered it. What would be your starting five for game one Wednesday? Somebody asked that question, but I know you answered it. It was. Did you already answer the question or not? It was a super chat for you that somebody asked, I think.
Oh, I see the super chat. Yeah, thank you, James.
Yeah.
Tyler, who would be my starting five? Well,
Yes.
it's just who's available. Is everybody available in this?
Let's say everybody who played today is available. Let's just say from that aspect.
So Sydney's not available?
Yeah, let's say she's not out. Let's say she's out that game. So let's say everybody who played today is available.
I think Ava. I mean, based on preseason language and based on the little bit of time I saw tonight, I think I'm starting Ava Hayden
Over Addie.
I
think Addie's better bench
tonight. I didn't see anything tonight that would give me indicators that it's too soon to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not pulling the plug on Addie.
No.
And remember, they moved. I'm guessing Jan had a degree of influence on who played at the 5 start games last year as well. So we may see it. Remember, they started with Addison. I think they played the DePaul game last year with Addison, and then it was Sharon Goodman for a while.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Then they just went to Stokey straight to 5. But I also feel like Addie is a better bench big, if that makes sense. She's better off the bench than she is as a starter. I feel like she gives you stuff. She gives you stuff as a starter. It's like, okay, it doesn't really move the needle. But when she comes off the bench and does those things, it's like, okay, we kind of need some of those things. You know what I mean? Like, you can get something from somebody else better, but when you need them to get those 5-10 minutes on the bench or whatever, and you need to play her for 5 or 10 minutes, you know what she's going to give you. But you also know you don't need that for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Ava Hayden is a smoother player based on what I've seen, and the moment does not look too big for her. Stats wise, she was even with Addison. Now I'm not judging. All I have to go off of is what I saw tonight, right? Besides just preseason language and talk, banter. So based on what I saw tonight, I would play the younger player because, as you know, James, what does Don Patterson always say? If there's two guys who are even, play the younger guy. They have more room to grow. It's the same thing for the women's team.
Definitely. And then obviously you still would go Stolke, Kylie, Taylor, and Lucy, obviously, as your other 4.
Yes. Yep. And my 6th player right now would probably be Mullaney, and Stremlo would be right after her. And I don't know that there's minutes after that, especially once you get her back. Do you see minutes?
No, but I think once you get a falter back, that's where you have to figure out, like, who do you take out of that rotation? Do you take Taylor out or do you take Kylie out?
Well, and Jade is out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, probably. But I'm saying, like, as a starting 5, who would you have to take out between Taylor and Kylie, probably?
Who sits?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if Kylie is making shots like she made tonight, she was 3 of 5 from 3. You might take Taylor out because Kylie is a more adequate ball handler, but at the same time, Lucy's going to be a ball dominant
True.
guard anyways.
True.
So
Either way. My bad, but I was gonna say either way, if she's shooting the way she is, Kylie is shooting the way she did today. Let's say she is kind of consistent enough from three to give you what you need to get. You can put her on the bench and still get a 3-point shooting. You know what I mean? Like, you do need a bench 3-point shooter, and I feel like it's always a big thing on every team. You need that one person on the bench you can kind of rely on to shoot threes. And whether you have that with Taylor or if Kylie can be consistent, you have one of those two. If Kylie can be consistent, to be at least that bench shooter off the bench, at least.
Here's an intriguing thought, James, and I'm not saying I want this. My basketball self doesn't want this because I think Hannah Stuelke is a natural 4, and I've been saying that for a long, long time. And I want to see her at the 4, not the 5. But if you're talking about playing your best 5 may not include a real 5.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a Falter, McCabe, Feuerbach, Stuelke, and Olsen.
The only issue I don't like that for is the guard minutes off the bench. I feel like are kind of hit or miss because there's a lot of more wings and bigs off the bench than there would be guards if you go that route. Now, obviously, you got the right. You can still play it to where you sit maybe a Kylie for somebody, then she comes in for Taylor, and then you still have the same amount of guards in, if that makes sense, right? And then Taylor comes in for Sydney, and then you kind of still rotate it like that. We still have the same amount of guards in no matter what, and your first person off the bench is either a big or a wing. You can still do it that way, too, and still kind of have that bench rotation going, if that makes sense. Where you just take one out and then have someone in for each other, or like Taylor goes out, then Sydney goes out, then Lucy goes out, then Lucy goes. You know what I mean? Kind of like that too. You could do that as well. I agree with that as well.
And I think it's interesting too because Jan is a big coach, a bigs coach. So does she defer more to having a true 5 on the floor? I don't know.
It's definitely gonna be an interesting look. And one more thing, I agree with you kind of with the Big Ten Plus games. It is kind of annoying because I feel like, especially Big Ten games, I feel like Big Ten Conference games should never be on Big Ten Plus. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. At least like, if it's a Big Ten Conference game, it should never be on Big Ten. The non-conference games, I don't have an issue with being on Big Ten Plus. I have no issues with those because that's kind of what that channel I think is for a little bit in that aspect of things. It's like some non-conference stuff or smaller sports stuff.
I know that there's I don't know exactly how it all works. I'd love to reach out, and if anybody here's a plea that I make with all the people that watch this show regularly. James, you're on this as well. I will be indebted to you if you can find an actual person to contact regarding the Big Ten telecast, because I have a number of questions that I would like to ask that person.
You think the Big Ten will answer that question? They won't. They don't care about it.
No. I will. I don't care if they don't care. I care less if they care. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I would like to make an effort to reach out to somebody there. I actually had a brief conversation by email the other day with Jess Settles about this exactly, and he confirmed what was already my suspicion, that even though Jess fills in on the men's games, these are assignments given to journalism students, and it's been that way since the inception of Big Ten Plus. But it used to be called BTN Plus. Yeah. I know BTN and Big Ten are like almost synonymous, but I'm curious now they call it Big Ten Plus. Is there really any direct affiliation with the Big Ten Network? I know they use some of the same graphics, etc. But if somebody can get me information on a contact person for Big Ten Plus, I'd love to talk to them.
Also, one more question I have that I might go back and look at too is, does Iowa have the most Big Ten Plus women's basketball games out there, right? That's kind of the interesting question.
No. Are you kidding?
But conference games, I don't know how they have that schedule, right? Because
I'm guessing Iowa's on TV a lot more than
with Peacock and some of that stuff. That I don't know how that pans out because they have a contract with Peacock, so I don't know who they have scheduled the Peacock games of actual conference games. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think my guess is, without looking at their schedules, there's a lot of other Big Ten teams that have more games on Big Ten Plus. But I'm just saying in general, there's such a big gap with attention between Iowa and everybody else.
Yeah,
find a way to put basically every game on a network people can get, with the exception being Peacock, because that's just, hey, there's Iowa football games on Peacock.
Right. So, there might not be one this year. So far, it hasn't been one this year, which is surprising.
That's true. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, like I said.
There will be men's games on Peacock.
Yeah.
There will not be any men's basketball games on Big Ten Plus.
Yeah. But that comes with the territory, obviously, as a Big Ten fan. That comes with the territory as a Big Ten fan. When they signed that contract, they kind of came with the territory as well. But like I said, it was good to see basketball back, good to see women's basketball back, and it's good to see the interest, different teams, a lot of different guys. You're not used to seeing Kate not there, you're not used to seeing Caitlin not there, you're not used to seeing Gabby not there. So it'll be an interesting year, but I have high faith in this team, and they're going to get better as it goes, especially those young girls, right? Ava and Tegan, they're going to get better as the season goes along, and hopefully they can play well enough to where when they get to Big Ten play, the lights aren't too bright, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they got some tests, and Iowa State's going to be a test. Virginia Tech's going to be a test. Drake is going to be a test.
Iowa State's a really good test for those bigs as well. With Audie Crooks being there, it's a really good test for whoever plays at the big spot, right? Whether it's Ava going in there, whether it's whoever it is, right, playing that big spot, having to guard Addie, that's a very good matchup for you early in the year, just so you can kind of get your legs under you for when you get later in the year, if that makes sense. But
Midwest Storm Chasing, how many years are we going to give Addie to
I feel like everybody. Can I say something on that? Sorry, can I say something on that? As a coach, I feel like you look at it as yes, you need development, but also you look at some people have different roles, right? And some people you only have do certain roles, if that makes sense, right? Like sometimes the development of them fits a role, if that makes sense. They don't develop all the way to where you want them to be, but what they have developed to fits a role, if that makes sense.
Well, she doesn't have. This is year 4. She's done after the year.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, right? Like some players, when they develop to what they develop to, the development that they get to just fills a role for you, and sometimes that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I don't know her role as a starter.
No, yeah, but I'm saying like a bench. If you're a bench big, that's still a role, but you developed into that role, but that's still a needed role, if that makes sense.
Sure, I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but all right, enjoy your night, and hopefully we can play well this weekend for the football team. That's the big one, and that's all it is. Was just keep supporting Iowa through everything, and you know me, I'll be there. Win or loss, I'll be here as much as I can. So that's all that matters. And make sure to leave a like and support Cory, because I know he does a lot for us fans, to be able to put our words out there and see how we feel sometimes, even if it's a bad thing, because I know sometimes against some games it's not pretty, but
hit that like button. And James, if you can find a Big Ten Plus contact, send it my way.
I'll try to email them. They probably won't get back to me, but I'll try.
Hey, just find it. If you can find a person, just find a contact person. I'll take it.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks. All right, good stuff. Wildman says the griffin is an eagle head on a lion body. It's a mythological Greek monster. Okay. Very interesting. I don't really know what to say on that, but let's go to our next caller. We've got Tony, we got Cory, we got Dave. Let's go to Tony first. Tony, sporting from the Hawkeye of the Storm gear. You got the truck driver cap. You're all set, man.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Basketball's back, which means Tony's back.
Yes. Hey, do you remember a lot of the memes you see on the internet, like "get ready to learn," blah 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 blah? And it's the NBA commissioner guy. Like, you need to get ready to learn flow hoops again. Flow hoops is going to be back for women's basketball
with Adam Silver.
Yeah, the Adam Silver meme. Yeah,
I don't think I've seen those memes, but
get ready to learn. Get ready to learn flow hoops. Yeah, flow hoops is going to be Cancun Challenge. There's 2 women's games on there.
I know. Who do they play down there this year? They play.
I have it pulled up. Give me 1 second. Let me switch tabs.
They play Rhode Island and BYU.
Yep, that's correct. Thursday, Friday.
Last year I bit that bullet and I went ahead and got flow hoops.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, it was awful.
I remember you did.
It was awful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. It was the first Big Ten Plus.
The only thing I'll give flow hoops is they actually showed like the whole warm-ups. Like I remember they went live 30 minutes before the game and you could see each team warming up and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I posted in your chat a few things from the Big Ten Plus support website, contact and stuff like that. So
the support website. See,
I know you want to reach someone higher, but that's the best I could do. I went to their website where you're saying that. And
I'm looking to get in touch
someone
with
higher.
Yes, someone higher, somebody that takes care of the in-between between the conference and Iowa. I don't know if you're able to find that, but I've had contact with Big Ten support, Big Ten Plus support in the past, and normally it's somebody that gets back to you in a week, and gives you a 2-sentence response on an email that doesn't fix your problem. Thankfully, I used to have problems. I couldn't even get signed in.
Yeah, it was bad in the beginning. Yeah.
In. Or what would happen, Tony? You'd sign in, you click on the stream. Game was supposed to tip at 7, and at 7:15, it's got a little clock, and all of a sudden it flashes, and here we are.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. I've subscribed to it. Now, one thing I will say about Big Ten Plus for those who might be on the fence, if they want to maybe, I don't know, bite the bullet and buy it, is this year they've switched how they do the subscription. You get every team in the conference for that same price. So you don't just get Iowa-only games. So if you want to watch more men's and women's basketball, or even follow like probably the soccer team might have some stuff. They're doing pretty well, and stuff like that. You could follow with Big Ten Plus, and I think I want to say it was like $89.99 for the year. And 6 are in Big Ten Plus. 2 non-conferences are in Big Ten Plus. One of them's UNI. The UNI Iowa game is on Big Ten Plus.
Yeah.
For women's.
Let me just make something very clear. When I was commenting on Big Ten Plus earlier, because I see a couple people in the comment. So we have to realize that Big Ten Plus, as you just illustrated, they have a lot of athletic events.
Yep.
So is it really reasonable to expect Big Ten Plus at people paying $12 a month? Is it reasonable for and $89 if you pay for the whole year? Is it reasonable to think that they're going to be able to hire talent?
No,
Great talent for all these athletic events. No, as far as comment. So I get why they're using the journalism program. I'm saying specifically for the women's basketball team,
it should be there.
Can you make an exception and maybe at least get somebody in there to help that's more experienced or just more capable than a student who's, I mean, you know what I'm saying, Tony.
I get it. I get it. Yeah. I think we're so spoiled though by Peacock. Peacock as a streaming service was amazing last year, especially for women's basketball.
Well, and keep in mind it's fueled by NBC. So,
yes. Yeah. But Big Ten Plus, if you want to like go up or peel the layers back of the onion, it's funded by Fox.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But my point is, they're doing all these athletic events. Peacock's not doing. They're not televising kind of volleyball. Maybe do some, but they're not.
No, not as much as Big Ten Plus. Yeah.
So it's really a different type of platform, and so can you differentiate? Make adjustments, change the way the program or the platform is, the way it functions, the way it's legislated. I guess if that's the right word. I just think there's ways to maybe make it a better thing for these passionate fans.
And to just keep making matters worse, ESPN Plus has the Drake game.
Yeah, I knew that. And that's they've had that before. I believe 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, they had that game. Let's see, last year, did they have it? They had it. Hey, Iowa, remember 2 years ago, Iowa played Kansas State at Kansas State and lost? That was ESPN Plus.
Yep.
So I don't even have an issue with that because I have ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and I have all of them too. I mean, it's just that's how I am.
But it is. I understand why people are annoyed by it. And
100%. Yeah,
the attention with the sport has not really. I mean, it's taken a hit from Caitlin being gone, but it's amazing how locked in people have stayed, not just in the state but across the country.
I mean, I'm more of a men's guy, and I talked to a lot of buddies about this stuff, and I don't know if you remember all this stuff, but everything was back on Raycom, and you'd see Mac McCausland calling all the men's games, and they'd be playing Athletes in Action and Marathon Oil and stuff like that. Those were the warm-up games. You used to have these teams that would go around and stuff like that, but they were always on. Like it didn't matter. They were always on. And the same thing with the women's. You could maybe find them a little easier than it is nowadays, and it's sad that this is what it's come to, but it's a money grab, just like everything else in life. Not much.
By the way, Diego here in the chat, he wants to know why this team was only shooting threes. Well, let me find the stats. So Missouri Western took 42 threes to Iowa's 32. Part of the I don't know a ton about Missouri Western. I can tell you that last year they went 25-6. All right. And they only lost by, this is interesting, they only lost by 8 last year at Missouri State. So take that for what you will. But this is a team that was good last year at their level, and Iowa spanked them hard. So
they were very successful from like 2020. I want to say it was like 2019 or 2020. They had like single digit wins, and every year since then they were like 20 plus. And I know it's D2 or whatever you want to call it, but to make that turnaround at any level, to go from single digit to 20 plus, that's 10 plus wins just in one season, and to sustain it to be 20 plus. Like, this is not just any pushover program. And I was trying to find out, because a lot of these exhibition games, you see like there's a connection. Like with the men's game, they played Minnesota Duluth. Justin Weck or Week, or he's a former walk-on. There was a connection to the program. I didn't see any connection. Did you know
somebody
of any?
made a comment? No, someone made a comment earlier. Let me find the comment. I was not aware of this, but let's find it here. Somebody made a comment about Hannah. There's a connection with Hannah Stolke. Did you see that in the chat earlier, Tony?
I did not. I'm sorry. I know that one of their players graduated from Valley. That was the only connection I could find. They have a senior who went to West Des Moines Valley. That's it.
Okay, this says, let's see here. Somebody's going to probably throw it up in the chat as I'm going back to try to find it in the chat. But let's see if I can find it.
Well, while you're doing that, speaking of Hannah, that was amazing, that 3-pointer she hit in the first quarter. Like, if she can add that to her game, that's huge.
That's an aspect of her game. Yeah, absolutely right. And I think that actually makes her more dangerous if she's in to play the 5.
Yeah.
So maybe you can play more small ball, because the problem with you playing her at the 5 without a 3 ball being a real threat is you're just undersized at that point. Like, what are you doing to keep the defense is going to take advantage of you at times. You got to be able to take advantage of the opposition on one side of the floor if you're going to basically say we're committing ourselves to this mismatch. And so, we saw her do that a little bit early of last season, and then she kind of went away from it. But she may have to do it because she's going to have more opportunity to score this season.
James said Hannah's mom played there.
All right, there you go. That's probably the connection. I mean, that seems like kind of an odd connection, but that might be the connection.
Usually, it's a little more. It's a little more direct with these. Go ahead.
Well, no, but how about this? Doug says that Paul.
Yeah, that's a huge connection. Let me tell you.
Wait a minute. Western Missouri is different than Missouri Western.
That is probably, geez.
Did he grow up in Western Missouri? Or did he go to school in Missouri Western? I think we don't know the
answer. The only other thing I had was like, it's so fun to watch this group, and they're going to be very easy to root for because, like you mentioned, like they're going to go so deep. It just seems, I don't know, like they're not going to miss a step. You're not going to have the Caitlin and the generational talent that she is, but it seems like it's been replaced by other people, if you see what I'm saying. Like,
well, and James brought up expectation, or Tyler brought it up earlier, just how this team is flying under the radar. People don't have them in their top 25. Mm-hmm. It's the same with the men for different reasons. The men didn't lose a ton. I mean, they lost Tony Perkins, they lost Ben Crickey. That's not why people aren't talking about them. People aren't talking about them because people are sort of pathetic towards this program. But the women, people are all excited, but the national perspective is you lose all these players and maybe the greatest college basketball player in the history of the women's game. So I just think
you might even be able to say both games. I don't even think I'm reaching out there, but you might even be able to say both the men's and the women's game. Caitlin, if you want to say
it's hard for me to say that right now, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we might be able to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just had something, old age got to me there. That's about it. I had something else that was in my mind and it escaped me. So
good to see you as always, sir. And we'll look forward to chatting more here. Hopefully next week.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you. Have a good.
Thank you, sir. All right. The Hawkeyes defeating Missouri Western 110-55. And let's see. Midwest Storm Chasing wants to know about finding stats. So I will throw the box score. How about this? I'll throw the box score in the live chat. People liked that the other day when I did it for football. So here's a link to the box score if people want to do that. But just know if you click on it, it may direct you away from the live stream. So anyways, you should be able to find it there at that link. Tony, the Tony that was just on, says that Jan Jensen was apparently saying post-game that she doesn't call them starters. She calls them people who begin the game. And, of course, that's going to be a storyline throughout the early part of the season. Media wants to know who's starting. And that's a fair question. I get it. But as Gary Close often says, it's more important who plays more minutes than it is who starts the game. And I would tend to agree with that. Christy says, would you consider starting Tegan? Sure. I mean, if she's playing like she did tonight and shooting like she did tonight, absolutely, with her size, because they have three-point shooters in the starting lineup. If the starting lineup is as it looks right now with Kylie and Sydney, or excuse me, Kylie and Taylor, and then if Sydney comes back, but to have someone who can stretch it and shoot from three, like we were talking about, maybe potentially Hannah being that threat. But Tegan is, I mean, she looks to be a future elite shooter. I wouldn't call her elite at this level right now, but the high school level, she was phenomenal. And she doesn't look like she's scared of the moment. Now, we'll see against better competition. That was a big crowd, though. I mean, still close to 10,000 people for these high school players in that arena. I call them high school players because they've never played a real college football, a college basketball game. And they got a kind of a taste of that tonight. And I thought Tegan passed that test. So we'll see. Would not be shocked to see her starting midway through the season. I thought it was interesting the other night. Jess Settles made a comment about Cooper Koch, that he would be surprised if he's not starting at some point this year as a true freshman. That was a big statement. I'd say the same thing about Tegan. And, don't be surprised if we see Jan tinker with that starting lineup a little bit, especially if she kind of downplaying the importance of who's starting. Then, she may throw a few different combinations out there. And then Kelly says, am I the only one disappointed in the lack of development in Addie O'Grady? Well, James made an interesting point earlier, and I would tend to agree with that as well. Some players are what they are, and she's developed to a point where she's at, and this is her senior year, so she may not be destined to be a starter, but she can fill a role. She filled a role at times last year and the year before that. But I do think Ava Hayden looks like the future at that position. All right, let's go to our next caller. We got Cory on hold. Cory, welcome.
Howdy.
How you doing, buddy?
It's a new era. I guess it's a bit of a shock to me. I mean, I know Caitlin Clark was special, but I just expected to see some fast breaks, and I really didn't see any fast breaks. Now, that was a smaller team. They were quicker, but it was a shock to my system. I mean, I'll be honest.
I didn't even think about that until you just said it. I really didn't even think about that because he scored 110, so I'm not thinking about pace of play. But you're right. I mean, let's look at fast break points. Iowa, 13 fast break points. So out of 110, they scored 13 fast break points. My guess is that will change a little bit. And, the only thing I can say is what you said a second ago, the chemistry between Clark and Gabby and Kate, I think made this team just naturally play fast because they knew where everybody's going to be. They're looking down the court. Caitlin always had her head up. So there's going to be a bit of a transition there. And I don't know, Lucy's going to have to adjust to the new style, but the style may be a little different with Jan Jensen.
Yeah, and I'll be accepting that. The only thing I'll say is kind of along the lines of your mentioning of possibly going small ball and playing Hannah Stolke. If you want your five best on the court, that would involve the fast break because you've got to take advantage of Hannah Stolke and her speed advantage over whoever's covering her. And so that's one. We're not taking advantage of Hannah Stolke in the fast break. That's all I'm saying, because she's a bona fide weapon. Now, that's the negative. I want to get my negatives out. My other negative is with Coach Jan being the head coach and the post whisperer, so to speak. I was a little disappointed in our post play. We have a size advantage and we still got our shots blocked. Like no crafty head fakes, no craftiness, no additional development from what I've seen in that post position. I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest. And so those were my two,
I will say this. I'll agree with you on one thing. And I said it earlier. I don't think AJ Edgar is any closer to playing significant minutes than she was last year. And I don't think Addison O'Grady, based on what I saw today, has taken any big jump. She's probably at the end of the road as far as her substantial development phase. So I think it comes down to how quickly can Ava Hayden be ready? And I think maybe you just start her right now. But let's remember, she is a true freshman, and she's coming in here very green, but very talented. I thought she was good tonight. I don't know that you can. I know you're looking at Jan from what her pedigree is, and obviously she's produced amazing bigs, and maybe they don't have an amazing big on the roster this year. But if Ava Hayden and Hannah Stolke can play together and be effective, she doesn't need to be elite at the 5 if they have an elite 4. And as far as pace of play is concerned, yeah, that's an interesting one because Lucy Olsen's not Caitlin Clark with vision. But, let's not forget they lost a lot of good passing skills. Not just Caitlin, but Kate was a good passer. Molly Davis was a good passer as a point guard. Gabby was an adequate passer. They got to figure out how to make up for that. I don't know where that's going to come from. That's a good point. I don't know where are the assist numbers going to come from, because especially if you're not playing in the full court as fast, then yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
But one fun, and now we'll go to the positives. So a fun and interesting dynamic is when you've got Lucy Olsen down there at the free throw line extended, kind of in a high post position. She's now in position to make some passes that maybe you can't make as a Caitlin Clark out on the top of the key. So that's an interesting dynamic there. And then she's also weaponized to hit that midi right there. That's going to be really interesting to monitor, is her sitting there on the free throw line extended over there, and whether she makes the pass or does a little dribble penetration, pulls up for that midi. But she's definitely got that in her arsenal. I think it's a preferred shot of hers. Another pleasant surprise, Jan kind of talked about, well, we're not going to be, just jacking threes all night. Well, I would argue with her that she has more of a balanced 3-point attack arsenal now with these two freshmen, 55 and 1, Mulaney and help me,
Stremlow.
I'm sorry, but even Caitlin Clark had off nights where she was 1 for 11. Okay, so you need an arsenal of 3-point shooters, because at any one moment, one of them can be hot that night. And I'll tell you, I feel like we've got Taylor McCabe, Kylie Fierbach, Stremlow, and Mulaney are legitimate 3-point. I mean, they could get hot on any given occasion. And Lucy Olsen as well. So,
and Sydney Falcher can make threes when she's back.
For sure. And let's not forget Hannah Stolke, because it looks like she was really comfortable out there. So, I mean, you've got 6 people that could legitimately get hot on a given occasion. So I would argue against Jan and her claim that, well, we're not just going to be jacking threes, because from what I see, that's one of their biggest assets. And
let me make one comment before I let you go, Cory. Free throw shooting. I commented on that earlier, but again, this number is a little lower than I would have thought, but Iowa drew 23 fouls in the game. Hannah drew 5 of those 23. Here's a stat to watch for her freshman year. Hannah Stolke shot free throws at a 46% clip. Last year, she shot free throws at a 63% clip. I think she is, stats-wise, her and Lucy are, reasonably, those two were the two players that drew the most fouls tonight. Tegan Mulaney in a close, very close in third place with 4 fouls drawn. But those two players are going to be the free throw line a lot. And this team shot tonight. This is something that should translate, maybe not apples to apples perfectly, but 84% from the line. I don't expect that number to stay 84%, but Hannah Stolke was 7 of 10 from the line. 70%. If she can go from 43% to 60 or whatever it was, it's 46% to 63% to 70, 75%. I would guess maybe 70s, maybe more of an expectation or a hope. And she was 70% tonight. They got a chance to be elite at the stripe. And I know that sounds like, who cares? We're talking about free throw shooting, but that's going to help a lot because they're not going to have as many, they're not going to have logo threes to rely on from Caitlin Clark to bail them out. But if one of those players can get inside and do the dirty work and draw fouls in critical moments, make those shots. I made the comment during the game, you look at this colossal loss of this senior class, including Caitlin Clark, and, sometimes the way you make up for a big loss like that is through the little things, a combination of the little things. Free throw shooting, rebounding, maybe slightly better defense. All those things together with a couple of, maybe 3 very good scores of 15 plus, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think that let's just go ahead and see if we can get the legal name change taken care of. As far as Mulaney just needs to change her name to McKenna Warnock. Let's just get that done.
Okay.
Now, really, I think, there you see roles and you see, I can see where we can make up for these Caitlin Clark points. I wasn't seeing it prior to tonight. And I know this is a quick snapshot, but there are scorers on this team. So I'm excited to see how this progresses. But I am concerned about the post game and the progression of the post play. And I was hoping for a little bit of therapy from Kashin on the subject. So
We'll get it.
she's
We'll get it at
disappointed
some
me.
point.
Yeah, I'm counting on her.
You didn't really expect. Did you expect her to join for an exhibition post game?
For sure. She's jumped on Twitters. She's all in. So I don't know if she dealt with any of the weather down in the North Carolina region, but
she did a little bit. Charlotte was hit. North Carolina as a whole was really hit by the first hurricane, and but she's okay. I have talked to her, and we had, like I say, recorded some segments with her here a couple of weeks ago, and we'll get her on here very soon.
Yeah, well, we miss you, Kashin, and still a great show, Cory. And I bought my BTN Plus subscription, and I'm cheap too, like your caller from Wyoming. So I really had to raise my bar,
Yep.
but I'm already that interested, and to the people that could only see it on the radio, it's a couple of really interesting dynamics. I think we have more 3-point shooters potentially on this team this year, which is not consistent with what Coach Jan, the Post Whisperer, was saying.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how if it,
right.
We'll
it's
see.
Still
it's
better competition.
Absolutely.
And then lastly is pay attention to that dynamic of Lucy Olsen being down there closer to the posts in that free throw line extended position where she can triple threat, pull it, pass it, or penetrate and hit that little runner she's got. That's an interesting dynamic. Things are happening. She's a little closer to the action with the ball. It's going to be interesting. So, going to be fun.
Cory, appreciate you calling in, sir. And I'm guessing we'll probably chat with you Saturday.
Yes, sir. I will be there Saturday night, and I'm geared up. I got 2 hotel night stays, so I'm all in. And we're bringing 10 of our best, loudest supporters. So we'll be loud and proud in Kinnick.
Sounds good, sir. We'll talk to you Saturday. Thanks, Cory.
Right, go Hawks.
Appreciate it. Go Hawks. Absolutely. Chris, thank you for the super chat. Go Hawks. Appreciate that donation and that help. And if you're wanting to know how you can support the show, you can do so by super chat. You can also do so PayPal, Venmo, Cash App are easy ways to do that. Links to all those donation platforms are in every description of every video. So please do that. Would certainly be appreciated. And Ham Tom 72, with all the shooters we have, I doubt we'll see many 30-point scorers this season. Yeah, that's a fair guess. Again, let me run through here before we go to our final caller. Well, let's go to our final caller, and then I'll give you kind of a final box score rundown. Dave is on the line. Dave, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? You know who this is, right?
It's Dave.
It's Minnesota Dave.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Hey, Dave. What are you calling a postgame show for?
I wanted to ask you a question. Basically, I'm glad they actually talked about not ESPN Plus, but Big Ten Plus on campus. I don't know if you've been on campus in Iowa, but on campus in Minnesota, we get that for free. So if when I work at the U, and every time I can tune into a softball game or a baseball game or a women's hockey or men's hockey, on a very, very rare occasion, they will put men's hockey on. But one of the main reasons why I called you was basically you were talking about the Spartans being the worst loss in Iowa history.
I didn't say that. I have never said that.
Well, recent loss or something like that.
That's a little different.
All right.
The worst loss in Iowa history and worst loss of recent time is those are two totally different things.
I mean, I can think of a whole heck of a lot of bad losses for Iowa. Northern Iowa was one, I would say. That's kind of recent.
When did Iowa lose to Northern Iowa?
Probably 2007.
That's so. I don't know if I'd have to go back to that. 17 years ago. You're bringing up a game 17 years ago.
Well, I mean, 17 years ago. For me, it feels not that long ago.
It's the worst worst football loss since 2016 when they lost to North Dakota State.
Okay. The 2 Gopher losses back in 2010, 2011 were pretty damn bad. Those were pretty bad Gopher teams.
Yeah, well, and anytime you lose to the Gophers, it's bad.
Yeah, shut up. And that Central Michigan loss back in 2012. What was that number 80 thinking, letting that ball get by him? I'll never know. On the onside kick.
Okay.
Well, that's my parents' school. That makes it more interesting.
Yep. Michigan school games were not good games, not good losses. Yep.
Yeah, and then I can't totally complain about you guys or make fun of you laughing at losing to North Dakota State, because everybody loses to North Dakota State. To the point where I don't think any Power 5 school even wants to put them on the schedule anymore.
Yeah, that's also fair. Dave, I'm going to let you go because this is a women's basketball show, but I do appreciate you calling in. You're all right. Your football shows. So
yeah, I'll call in for football next time. I'm sorry, I just saw that you were on, and
you're good. We'll be there on if you're up late. We'll be there late Saturday. You can call this show instead of Mark's show.
All right. I will talk to you later.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. All right. The Hawkeyes defeating Missouri Western, and Ham Tom 72, Hayden or O'Grady? I said earlier, Hayden. In my opinion, I think she's the future. So play the younger player if they're close. And based on what I saw tonight, there's no big gap there. Maybe Hayden's actually a little bit better. I think she's a better runner. Maybe will help a little bit more, could help a little bit more in the fast break once she settles in. And then, boy, it's hard for me to, Layla Hayes, the girl from, gal from Alaska. I'm not even used to saying the word Alaska on a college basketball or college athletics show. I mean, how many times do you get an athlete from Alaska? So I don't know. I can't say that yet, but I know the staff really likes Ava Hayden, and she was a major part of the banter and the talk at Media Day. And she'll continue to be because she's caught on quickly, and with her size and intelligence on and off the court, she's going to be an asset very early, and it's going to speed the process along, right? She doesn't have to wait. Now, there's benefits in waiting your turn and playing behind somebody, kind of like Monica Sonano did with Megan Gustafson, but Ava Hayden doesn't really have that luxury, but it's also going to speed the maturation process along. So that is something to watch for. Let's give you a final box score rundown for your Iowa Hawkeyes. Ava Hayden, speaking of Hayden, she was one of, 5 players in double figures tonight, had 10 points to go along with 4 rebounds. She was 4 of 8 from the field in about 13 minutes of play. Lucy Olsen had 14 points on 4 of 9 shooting, perfect at the free throw line, 5 of 5. She was 1 of 5 from 3, 6 rebounds for Lucy, 6 assists, 4 turnovers. She'll want to get that number down. Kylie Feuerbach was an efficient 5 of 7 from the field, including 3 threes, 7 rebounds, 14 total points, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 2 steals for Kylie Feuerbach. Taylor McCabe was 2 of 5 from 3, had 7 rebounds. That's a good number. They could use a guard crashing, and she talked about rebounding at Iowa Media Day. Taylor also had 8 points total, 4 assists on the night. Addison O'Grady, 15 minutes of play, 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from the line, 2 rebounds, 8 points, 2 turnovers. Hannah Stolke, 7 of 10 from the line. She had 17 minutes under her belt tonight, 18 points, made a 3, and was 5 of 6 from the field overall. 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 5 boards. Let's see. Taylor Stremlow, 25 minutes, the freshman from Wisconsin, 3 of 4 from the field, 9 rebounds, 6 points, 2 assists, 3 turnovers. Let's see. 1 steal. Am I getting that right? Yeah, 1 steal for Taylor. Also had a block shot. Tegan Mullaney shot 11 field goal attempts, I should say. 4 of 9 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line. She's got a bright future. 18 points, 4 fouls drawn. Also added 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals, and a block shot. So a bit of a stat sheet stuffer for number 55. Jada Jimfy was 1 of 7. She struggled mightily from 3. 0 for 5 from 3. Played about 13 minutes, 4 points, 2 assists, 1 steal for Jada. AJ Ediger, 8 minutes of play, 2 of 2 from the field, 5 points, 2 rebounds, a couple of fouls drawn, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal. Callie Levine, the freshman from Solon, Miss Iowa basketball, 10 minutes of play, 2 of 3 from the field, including a made 3, 5 points, a block shot, and 1 rebound. So that is your official box score from Iowa and Missouri Western. The Hawkeyes on the game shot 53% from the field, 35% from 3, made 12 of them, 84% from the free throw line. And Hawkeyes scoring trailed off a little bit in the second half. Actually scored 33 in the first quarter, and then 24, 27, 26 to finish things out. Totals 110. Iowa, as it relates to turnovers, 15 on the night to Missouri Western's 19. So, first game out there, some young players, but they'll want to get those numbers down a bit. Didn't get out in the fast break as much as you'd like. 13 fast break points, but 48 points off the bench, 42 points in the paint, 28 points off of Missouri Western turnovers. The Hawkeyes had the biggest scoring run in this game, 21 unanswered points. They were on a 21-0 run at one point. And the Hawkeyes led by as many as 56, and they win by 55, 110-55, the final from Carver Hawkeye Arena. So that's all there is. We are going to be excited to get Kasheen Alexander back on this show and Gary Close for the men's game. Of course, I'll be live with everybody after the football game this Saturday night. That game will be on NBC. Let's get the official start time here so that Everybody knows, and there's no questions about this. Why didn't you bring this up? Yes, here are the official details for Saturday. Iowa, Wisconsin under the lights at Kinnick. It's a blackout. Hawkeyes will wear all black, followed by Iowa postgame with Coach Don Patterson. Of course, if you want to support this show, donate in the description. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. If you want to sponsor the show, I threw the email up earlier. It's info@from the Hawkeye of the Storm. You can also purchase From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch. You can shop Amazon with us. There's no extra charge to do that. Of course, subscribing, telling your friends, all these things help. Thank you to everybody for being here, folks, as we continue into another season of Iowa women's basketball recaps right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Have a great night, folks. Go Hawks, and we'll talk to you soon.